And just one more question for you, Minister. It's been reported recently that David Andersen is expected to retire on about 37%. He's former CEO of the ABC, and that his final salary was about $1.1 million, and he's expected to retire on a 37% defined benefit scheme. So in other words, he'll get approximately $400,000 or 37% of his final salary. Do you think it's fair and equitable that well-paid bureaucrats should be paid such a high amount of money in retirement? And would you consider means testing such generous gold-plated defined benefit schemes?
Means testing in the sense of having like an income limit?
Well, for a pension, for example, if you've got assets more than $850,000, I think it's around the $850,000, you don't get a pension if you're a retiree, and the part pension starts to, the full pension starts to diminish once you get to $312,000. So people in the private sector have to have an assets test and an income test to get the pension. Would a similar thing apply to the bureaucrats who've retired? I mean, for example, if David Anderson's been earning something like over $1 million for the last 5 years, should he really be getting another $400,000 every year until he, passes away?
Well, I think and I presume his employment arrangements are subject to the Remuneration Tribunal. We have no plans to change that, but these are matters that are determined independently of politicians.
Yeah, I realise that, but we can decide to put a threshold on this figure. I mean, we've got we've got a cost of living crisis, and there's lots of people out there that could do with a bigger tax cut, for example. I just don't think it's fair, and so it is a matter of policy that someone that earns more than $18,200 has to pay 16 cents plus 2% Medicare, but yet we can have other retired bureaucrats getting a large swathe of money, despite the fact that they were paid very well throughout their working career. It kind of seems upside down to me.
Well, perhaps there's a new chair of the Remuneration Tribunal. You could that's where these arrangements are agreed and set. I presume for the ABC, would they, or is that done by the board? Anyway, we'd have to check.
We'd have to confirm.
But it's a broader point you're raising, because it's not just about one individual.
No, it's not just about one individual. There's approximately about 40,000 people who get more than $75,000 a year, and I'd imagine a lot of those people would have been paid very well throughout their working career. And I know the original purpose of the defined benefit scheme was to compensate those who weren't paid as well, but many people in the public sector now get paid more than the private sector. So it's not really, it's no longer necessary to have a defined benefit scheme. I mean, we got rid of
and those schemes are closed.
Yeah, those schemes are closed.
Well, I realise that, but there's still, something like a couple of $100 billion worth of outstanding liability out there. And as I said, we've got, low-income earners paying a decent rate of tax. I mean, I would have thought that was a policy issue rather than a Remuneration Tribunal issue.
Yeah, well, it certainly hasn't, as far as I'm aware, the government is not considering changes to that.
You don't think they should consider it? It's not a policy you consider?
I certainly have had some discussion with the new chair of the Remuneration Tribunal around making sure that determinations, commensurate with positions of equal value and stature in the private sector.
Yes,
we have to attract people into these jobs, and often the public scrutiny can be a bit of a disincentive. So I think you do have to have a good remuneration offering to offer people, but I also think it needs to keep in line with community expectations. And so I have had that discussion with the Rem Tribunal Chair.
So it's the Remuneration Tribunal Chair. Yeah. Okay. Cheers. Thanks, Chair.
Authorised G. Rennick People First Chermside.